Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Jacob Licklider here, and it's another Saturday, which means another episode of Doctor Who Series 10. And we are officially halfway through the series right now, which it's going by pretty quickly, but not for lack of quality. Especially, Oxygen last week was great. But this week's episode is Extremis, which I was a bit nervous about because it's Steven Moffat. It's the second Steven Moffat script. But it's the first of a three-part story. So the three-parter doesn't really have a good, strong opening. There's a good chance that the other two parts are going to fall flat too. But my fears were quelled instantly when I actually when I actually watched the episode tonight, because Extremis, again, much like Oxygen, Extremis seems to be, I think, is the best script that Steven Moffat's had in a very, very long time. For the first part, there are going to be spoilers. So again, please click away now if you haven't. I will say, Extremis is not as good as Oxygen was. It's definitely a step, but it's still a pretty great story overall. It's the first time where Moffat's humor really he seems to be firing a lot of the guns blazing and getting a lot of good humor in. There's a scene early on where Bill has a friend over, and she's obviously trying to flirt with him, and then suddenly the Pope just sort of walks into her bedroom. That is hilarious. After Bill says, "Oh no, it's safe to be gay here," and then the Pope shows up. That's just hilarious because, well, you have Catholics who, let's be honest, aren't the most LGBT friendly. Sure, they're not the worst out there, but still, you have the stereotypical Christian pray the gay away. Anyway, just jokes like these lovely jokes that just sort of they really land. I even kind of laughed at Matt Lucas as Nardole, which is kind of weird because Nardole's been kind of a bad character overall. Like, oh, I'm the only one licensed to kick your ass line was kind of a bit that kind of fell flat a bit. But the oh, what, badass being so secret? Huh? Who said it was a secret? And then he does that little scream, which is it's just touches like that sort of make the humor work. But yeah, the plot of this one is interesting. You have the Vatican coming to the Doctor on the recommendation of Pope Benedict the Ninth, who apparently the Doctor Who universe was a woman. I haven't studied the Pope, so I don't know if that was ever like a rumor that that he was secretly a woman being the Pope. I don't know. I just don't know the history of that. But there is this thing called the Veritas, which is it's a concept that's been done before in other media. You have this book that has this forbidden knowledge that when people read it, they want to kill themselves. Usually it's because they're possessed by a demon in these sorts of stories. But this one, the big twist is that the world as we know it is a simulation. And nothing is actually real, which that is just a terrifying concept, because how would we know? Basically, most of this episode is actually framed as the Doctor, who is blind and has his sonic sunglasses there to sort of help him. They sort of help him see where he needs to go and how to sort of function, which is kind of interesting, and kind of a decent use for them. I'm guessing it's using like echolocation by sort of sort of bouncing off things, because you see everything in one greenish color, which I can actually, that's kind of a clever use of the sunglasses. Yeah, the sonic sunglasses were used cleverly here. But well, and you have this book, and if whoever reads it dies, and it gets sent out everywhere, so people just start dropping dead. But the big twist is that it is a simulation by the monks. These monks, which are, I guess they're called the Truth monks, who are coming to the Earth to kill, I guess to invade, and just to basically just to try to take over the world. It's sort of an interesting idea of how to head an invasion. It kind of reminds me of sort of the big twist in the Android invasion, but this time with the Doctor and Bill being part of it, because that's interesting. So obviously they scanned the Earth at the time, somewhere at time after Oxygen, and now are using that as their template, which that's just sort of an interesting idea. I mean, it seems like it might be a bit of a cop-out ending, but overall, it was a pretty cool idea. I quite liked it. It's hard to say this because I am liking an actual Steven Moffat story. What witchcraft is this? But then it was a pretty solid idea for a story. That being said, and you just sort of have, and a lot of the plot is just sort of unraveling the mystery. It's a very simple plot, but it works. And then the other half is really the finding out who's actually in the vault. Spoiler alert: it's Missy. Yeah, we knew that was happening. Michelle Gomez is in this episode as Missy. She's really only in it in flashbacks, which I think is for the best. And she really, really is. It's almost, I wouldn't say it's quite cameo levels, but she doesn't get too much to do, which honestly I think is for the best. Because I mean, at least she's not really flirting with the Doctor, but it's like, oh, we're friends, and it's like, she's still not like the Master. Hopefully, we can actually get Missy like the Master. She might actually be appearing in the next week's episode, which that'll be interesting. Because it'll be the first time someone other than Steven Moffat has been writing for Missy, as next week is written by Peter Harness, and I'll get to that after I score what my thoughts on what's going to happen next week after I wrap this up. But yeah, I also really think Pearl Mackie this might, I don't want to say this is her weakest, but she's definitely more sidelined here, as this one is more focusing on the Doctor, which, okay, but still, Pearl Mackie still gets some really good stuff, like, she's fallen in love with this girl, oh gosh, I can't remember, Bill's, I guess the girl that Bill's in love with is sort of flirting with. His name, I think, is her name actually Pearl, or am I just thinking? I might have to look that up later. I'll look it up later, and it doesn't matter. And it's like, oh, it's safe. And then the Pope walks. Again, it's things like that that really keep Pearl Mackie interesting and Bill interesting as a character. Though her foster mom's still a bit cringy. It's like, oh, don't bring a boy home. Oh, you just brought a girl home. That's fine. Ha ha ha. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't feel. It feels almost like it's a. I don't know. It just the way they're writing Bill's foster mother, it just seems like, I don't know, almost clueless, because I mean, Bill's already said that she's gay to her before. Can't she take a hint? I mean, it's not exactly. I mean, is anyone really that naive? I don't know. I don't know. It's just one of those weird things that sort of bugs me a little bit when talking about this one, just because that just doesn't make much sense to me. That being said, a lot of it, Bill is still really, really good, and a lot of the supporting cast is really good. It's really just, the supporting cast is just really just a lot of priests and bishops, and then some scientists from CERN, and someone who's supposed to be the president of the United States. And then everyone's committing suicide. So I'm guessing this is how they're gonna try to do it, by invading. That's how they're gonna, which that'll be interesting to see how next week works out. So it just seems that it's gonna be an interesting way to get the story going and have everything. So it's a really good first part. Hopefully the rest of the story can hold up. Again, the ending doesn't really feel like an ending, but that's because it's not. It's just end of part 1 of 3, so I can forgive it for not really concluding. But other than that, the episode was legitimately a really good experience. I think I'm going to have to give it a total of 8 out of 10, because there are some really big flaws that are glaring, but I'd still definitely probably watch this one again for fun. Looking forward to next week has me a bit worried, because it's Peter Harness writing The Pyramid at the End of the World, and he wrote Kill the Moon, which I hate for its, for being a heavy-handed bungling of trying to be, I guess it was trying to be pro-life, but it didn't really do the argument any justice. And then the Zygon two-parter, which, while a decent story, just was again heavy-handed and was kind of confused on its message, and basically had a really bad analogy for, terrorism and the Zygon. Just the analogy just didn't work there. Hopefully this one maybe will be better, because he can write okay. He just can't seem to do political allegory in this. But this one hopefully seems to be a bit heavy-handed. But until then, thanks for watching. Leave a like, please comment, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more. And I'll be back sometime within the week with the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon, where I'm doing the sense rights. So see you then. And I actually just popped back in here because I remember I forgot to mention one quick little thing. I just realized the music in this story done by Murray Gold, for some reason, it might be because it was a religious themed episode, sort of. It reminded me a lot of some of the guitarists reminded me very much of the musical Jesus Christ Superstar, which is an excellent show. If you musical, if you haven't seen it, it's a pretty good musical. It was actually really nice to hear something take kind of a different genre approach, I guess, than sort of again using Beethoven's Fifth Symphony on guitar for the music. But yeah, pretty good choice, Murray.